In this problem, we're going to use construction tools to dilate triangle XYZ by a scale factor of r equals 1/2, and the center of dilation is at y. So to construct a dilation where the figure is going to be, to have a scale factor of 1/2 applied, the 1/2 is going to make the figure smaller. So it's going to produce a triangle whose sides are half the length that they start out being. So two things we have to keep in mind. Number one, we need to figure out how to make the sides half the length they currently are. But we also have to consider the center of the dilation. And in this case, the center of the dilation is y. So what that will mean is that since y is the center of the dilation, this triangle is going to shrink, and it's going to shrink towards y. Like all the points on the triangle will end up moving closer to y, and not just closer randomly, it's going to be halfway to y. So right now we can see where x is in relationship to y. When I perform this dilation, x needs to end up closer to y, and it has to end up halfway to y, and it's going to go towards y along this line segment. So it will end up half the distance that it currently is from y after the dilation. So to find the halfway point, we already know that construction. That's the perpendicular bisector construction. That gets me the midpoint, or the point that is going to be halfway to y. So I'm going to do a perpendicular bisector construction on line segment xy. I'm going to do something slightly different on this one than I normally would on a perpendicular bisector construction, but the arcs are still the same. Now, normally on a perpendicular bisector construction, I would draw the perpendicular bisector in, but that will create a lot of lines on this diagram, and it will be a little bit confusing to look at. So I'm remembering that my intention was to find the point that's halfway from x to y, and that will be x prime once I do that. So instead of drawing the line, I'm just going to use my straight edge, and I'm going to line up those 2 points. And I'm not going to draw the line, but I am going to put a little tiny line or a little segment on the halfway point on xy. And this point here will become x prime. And that point is halfway to y because I just found the midpoint, or I did the perpendicular bisector of xy. So the next thing we have to do is we have to find the midpoint now of yz, because the center is y and z needs to move closer to y. So again, we're going to do a perpendicular bisector construction. So I'm measuring from y to z. And again, I'm not going to draw this line segment in here, the perpendicular bisector, because it's going to get too hard to look at. I just want that midpoint. I'm just making sure I've lined it up perfectly. I want this midpoint. And so that point now, because I'm bringing point z closer to y, that's z prime. And so now all we have to do is we just have to measure from z prime, or not measure, just line up x prime and z prime to make that triangle, which is the dilation by a scale factor of 1/2, because now this smaller triangle side is half the length of the big triangle side. All of them are, all 3 of them are.